What do you think the penalty is going to be for two agents in Montreal who have just been found guilty of creating fake offers to drive up the final sale price in multiple offer situations? Well, we're about to find out because they have now been found guilty and their punishment is soon to be determined. Hey everybody, welcome to Bald Prairie Real Estate. My name is Matthew Pfeifer, real estate agent in Regina. That's my trusted assistant. This is the weekly news recap here. We're going through everything that's new and exciting making real estate market. We're gonna be talking about those Montreal real estate agents that were found guilty making those fake offers. We're talking about a new foreign buyer tax. Yes, another foreign buyer tax coming to Canada that's cap on international students, interest rates, and a whole bunch more. But as always, let's start this off with another one of my terrible bad dad jokes. What did the grape say when it got stepped on? It let out a little whine. If you have a terrible joke that I can use in a future episode, put it in the comments below. Let's get into this week's Canadian real estate news. First up, we're talking about the government of Canada putting a cap on the number of student visas available. This originally got leaked over the weekend and I did a super fast short on this. So if you're not subscribed to Bald Prairie Real Estate, get subscribed because you're gonna miss those quick, super fast video updates I put out when there's breaking news. What essentially has happened here is the federal government has realized student visas have gotten out of control. They've exploded in popularity. And in many cases, they're being used as kind of a loophole for permanent residency. There are many quote unquote colleges that are nothing more than taking students' money and offering programs, we'll call it that, programs that students will take for a couple of years, and it allows them to essentially come to Canada and get that short track to permanent residency. The original idea for student visas was a great one. The whole idea is that when we would have people that would come to Canada, they were already educated in other countries, and they would come with these great skill sets, but the problem is that those skill sets maybe didn't match up with an equivalent program in Canada, or their credentials weren't recognized. So the idea was, well, let's have them come to Canada, study, get proper Canadian credentials, for engineering, doctor, etc. And then because they've come here, they've become educated, they've set down roots, they're gonna wanna continue to live in Canada, and now they've got those proper credentials. So the idea of the program was great. It's now been abused, and we've seen a lot of this being used purely for monetary gain or ways to get around immigration rules. Now the government of Canada is going to cap immigration at about student visas at 350,000. They're gonna do this for 2 years. And they're trying to create a program that's going to have proper vetted colleges. So your big universities, UBC, U of S, University of Toronto, etc. Those are obviously all recognized studying institutions. That's not going to be a problem. This cap, though, it's interesting because it's applied nationally and they're basing the amount of student visas by province. So in Ontario, for example, which has a huge student visa problem, I'm going to call it a problem, huge number of student visas that are issued there. Well, that is going to be cut down. It sounds like Ontario is going to lose about 50% of the student visas that are currently being available. And other provinces like Saskatchewan and Alberta, who currently don't actually have a huge international student presence, may see the amount of international students they could potentially bring actually increase, because this is all going to be based on population. So likely Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Manitoba are going to see an increase in international student visas, while BC and Ontario specifically are likely going to see a significant decrease in the number of international students. Next, let's talk about the Bank of Canada's interest rate announcement, where they decided to hold interest rates at the current 5%. So basically, nobody was surprised by the Bank of Canada's interest rate announcement holding where they're at. When I put out my poll last week, the majority of you guys all responded expecting that interest rates would stay the same. But there's a very different shift in the tone of the conversation. Now, previously, it was always, how much higher do we need to increase interest rates to control inflation? Now that tone and that conversation has shifted to, how long do we keep interest rates where they are before they become too restrictive in the economy and we need to reduce interest rates? They are not saying they're going to cut interest rates today. They were very clear on that. And remember, the Bank of Canada can say one thing and do something very different. Wasn't that long ago they were saying interest rates would remain low for a very long time, and then of course, not much more than a year later, interest rates started rising rapidly. So if we see inflation start trending back up long term, of course, they're going to raise interest rates. If inflation follows the models the Bank of Canada is expecting them to follow, and that may not happen, but if they do, they're likely going to see that interest rates where they are today are too restrictive on the economy, and they'll start cutting interest rates at some point here. Again, there's a lot of meetings. I'll put a table up here so you guys can see when all the next interest rate announcements are coming up. I still think we don't see an interest rate cut until June at the earliest. That's my expectation. Next up, the government of Canada is looking at modular and factory-built homes to address the housing crisis in Canada. Now, I'm all for solutions that get more homes built. I'm happy that the government has started to take notice that we have a housing crisis in Canada, we have a problem, and that they're looking to get more homes built. So I'm happy about that. Modular homes, so pre-built, off-site, that is a bigger challenge. And the reason being, and I still think modular homes are a great idea, but it becomes, for example, how do you get that house to the site? If it's a brand new subdivision, maybe not so hard. If it's an established subdivision, how do you get that truck into an established neighborhood, around streetlights, through intersections, etc., and onto the site? That can be very, very challenging.
Across the highway, traffic down to one lane.
You also have many municipal building codes or bylaws that actually don't allow for pre-built homes. So this is going to be a challenge at a few different levels. Where I see that this could be improved is factory-built elements of a house. Things like pre-built walls where they're all assembled. This is done with trusses where those are assembled in a factory. I used to do that. It was a night shift job I used to have when I was younger. I built trusses. They would be put on a truck, they're shipped to the site and added to the house. This can likely be done for things like walls. You of course can't do the plumbing, electrical. That's going to have to be done on site. Maybe we can find a way to do that, but I would be all in favor of finding new ways to pre-build some of the elements of the house, ship them to the site, and assemble them quicker. Next article here is that Toronto is looking at adding a foreign buyer tax. Yes, so we currently have a foreign buyer ban in Canada. Again, I've talked about that. It's nothing more than political theater. Ontario already has a foreign buyer tax of 25%. And now the city of Toronto is looking at adding a 10% foreign buyer tax. So we're going to add a tax on top of a tax on top of a ban. I get the idea of what they're trying to do here, but again, much like the ban on foreign buyers, this is political theater at its best. Not really sure what they're planning to accomplish here. And much like has been discussed when it's been used in other areas of the country, governments will tout this as how much revenue it's going to generate, and then they put these big splash numbers, all these taxes, what it's going to generate, and more often than not, it ends up generating far less revenue than was expected. So either they grossly overestimate how many properties are owned by foreign buyers, or they've grossly overestimated how easy it is to get around their own rules, probably a little bit of both, and these end up not really raising much for revenue at all. But Toronto's looking at adding this foreign buyer tax potentially here. And now we get to the fun article. 2 Quebec agents found guilty of making fake offers in order to drive up home prices in Montreal. Well, we're bringing back an old section here of Bald Prairie Real Estate, and that is real estate agents behaving badly. I was doing this, I swear, just about every single week last year, where we'd find interesting articles of real estate agents behaving badly. It's been all since done that, so we're bringing back the old times here. I actually talked about this in May of 2023 when these 2 agents were originally caught of doing this. So quick recap, they were getting friends and family to throw in fake offers into multiple offer situations on their own listings in order to drive up the final sale price. And this, of course, is what happens when you get into the giant rat's nest that is multiple offers. There is no perfect solution. I know some people have proposed, well, we need to have a registration system for the offers. I'm in favor of that. Again, how do you police this? How do you set this up so it can't be abused? I still think at the end of the day, you can register all the offers that you want. And at the end of the day, people can go and abuse that system. Some people have said, well, we need to have fully transparent offers. Again, it still doesn't stop somebody from abusing that if they wanted to. We have agents playing buyers off each other. I don't like that. It is what it is. We have people that say, well, they don't like blind bidding. Again, there's pros and cons to all of this. At the end of the day, all the different, banning blind bidding, banning this, banning that, whatever rules you want to put in place, you're not solving the core problem. And that is, there are more buyers for that house than there are houses available. And if you have more buyers that want to buy that particular house, well, these types of things are going to happen. So how do we solve the core problem? Match the number of buyers to the number of houses. Inventory, talk about it at length on this channel all the time. We need to find a way to get more supply to the market. And you see this in other markets. Mine, for example, we don't see nearly as many multiple offer situations. We don't have as many problems with this because yes, we still get multiple offers, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4 buyers, not 20 or 30 for the property. There's a little more supply balance in Saskatchewan than you see in, say, Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal. Now, these 2 agents, they have lost their license, they've been fired for their company, and I believe they're facing a $50,000 fine for each and every single time that they have done this. So they're going to be paying a very significant penalty. And I'm all in favor of that. As a real estate agent, obviously you can't do these things. I mean, I don't even have to say that, but I've said over and over again, get the bad apples out of the business. I have tried to pride myself in doing business right, and the ones that abuse the system and do things like this, they make me look bad, and it frustrates the heck out of me. So let's get the bad apples out of here. Now, if you are thinking about buying a house, if you're in Regina or moving to Regina, of course, I would love to help you out. Matilda will come along for the showings. But if you're buying a house anywhere else in Canada, you already have a great real estate agent, don't worry, I can help you out for that because I've got a great real estate agent network across the country. They're great agents. They do business right. They're gonna help you find that perfect house. So if you look in the description of this video, there's a link to my calendar. You can book me in for a call where I will find you the perfect real estate agent for you in your market. That's a wrap on this week's Canadian Real Estate News. If you love this video, please give this video a like. I really appreciate it if you do. It helps the algorithm. Subscribe to Bald Prairie Real Estate if you haven't already, so you can keep up to date on the Canadian real estate market. Leave some comments below so we can chat in the comment section. That's one of my favorite parts about doing these videos is chatting with you guys in that comment section. And as always, thanks very much for watching.